where do we begin?
Yeah. The first thing always is looking at the relationship, right? Instead of what's my problem? I am at fault. I don't have enough willpower. If I just tried harder, if I just stuck to it more, right? Is to actually kind of put it sort of in front of you and go, oh, this is a relationship that's not working so well, right? So if we think about how do we make relationships work, right? The first thing we do in a relationship is kind of go, hello, like we extend our courtesy, our invitation into conversation, right? And one of the ways I often invite people to do that is literally, and if you're listening, or Philippa, if you want to do it, is put your hand on your heart and really feel your hand and like, hello, body.
Hello, and welcome to Moving Through Menopause with me, Philippa. And today I'm talking with Nina Manolson. Nina is a body peace coach, and you know, Nina's got lots of tricks up her sleeve that I hope she'll be sharing with us today. And so welcome to the show, Nina. It's wonderful to chat with you today.
Oh, Philippa, it's my pleasure to be here with you.
Thank you. Thanks so much for coming along and having a chat. You know, this time of year, I was thinking to myself, it's coming up to Valentine's. And so we're talking about loved ones, but why not talk about loving ourselves just a little bit more this year? I do have my own kind of life experience to speak to of not always feeling like I love what I see in the mirror. And you know, the thing is, I didn't love it when really probably I should have been loving it, you know. And it doesn't get easier with the passage of time. For me anyway. Like I say, I'm talking to my own life experience. So how can we tackle this? Because we can't go on feeling like this, can we? It's just not sustainable. It's unhelpful and counterproductive.
Yeah. It's that feeling of I'm not at home in my body. I don't love my body. I'm in what I call body hate or body shame is unfortunately more common than actually women who feel really happy and at home and at peace in their body. And I really see it as an epidemic of its own kind, that sense of shame. And one of the things that happens for women who are in that place of, I don't like my body, we get into this thing of, I've got to make something happen now. And we get aggressive with ourselves. And it becomes what I think of as the diet cycle. I don't feel good about my body. Oh my gosh, I got to do something. Great, I'm going to start this new diet. And then, oh, I can't really keep that up because that's not sustainable because deprivation never works. And now I feel like a failure. Oh, I know this feeling. This feels terrible. Oh, there's something wrong with me. I really feel bad about my body. Oh, let me find something to do about it. And around we go. Around we go. So as you're saying, it's not sustainable. It's exhausting. In fact, for me personally, I got to a place in my life where I was like, this conversation in my head is boring and it's soul sucking. It literally creates an energy leak for our life. We have so much to do, right? Women in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, we are at this place of knowing who we are. We have incredible vibrancy. We have great ideas. We have incredible life experience. We have insights. We have a way of bringing our gifts into the world. And yet we're being pulled back because, oh, I don't want to speak in public because of the way my body looks. Oh, I want to hide in the back of the picture because I don't want my tummy to show. Oh, I don't want to wear that thing that will attract attention because maybe somebody will notice how wide my hips are, right? So our body struggle actually acts as a barrier to being who we are in our life fully. So this idea of loving the skin that we're in, being at peace with our body is not like a nice thing. It's
Mm.
actually fundamentally critical work for us to feel fully alive in life.
Yeah.
So important.
Yeah. Well, so tell me a little bit about how you came to be doing this work, Nina, if you
Mhm.
don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. So, um, as you can tell from what I said, this part of this is my story, right? I didn't feel at home in my body. I started my first diet when I was 8 years old,
Oh.
and then kept going from there. Just that diet cycle that I just described went around and around and around for decades, to the point where I was like, you know what, this has got to change. And at that time, I was also getting into body work, doing massage. And I was working only with women. And so every single day, many times in the day, I would hear women's body stories. This is
Mm.
how I feel in my body. These are the memories that are coming up in my body. This is the shame in my body. And I realized that as I was hands on with women, helping them feel safe, relaxed in their body, there was a lot more in my hands than muscles, than bones. There's a whole story and there's a
Mm.
whole relationship that we're having with our body. And so I went from there back to graduate school and became a therapist. And so I was doing therapy and I was talking to people and I was like, yeah, there's something missing here, right? This combination of we're living in a body and we actually need to process this relationship. So now, and then I started working with women and in body trust work and psychology of eating work and intuitive eating work, and eventually over these 30 years developed this work that I call body peace, that I've trademarked, which is a process of how do we come home and feel good in our body? How do we nourish ourselves well? How do we take care of ourselves? How do we really support the skin that we're in now without always being in the like, well, if I do this, then I get to have the body that I like, and then I will love that body.
Mm.
That doesn't work, right? That's the if then model,
Mm.
and it
Mm.
keeps us forever in the loop. So for me personally in my journey, it was realizing that it wasn't just like, oh, let me do yoga, let me change my lifestyle. And it wasn't, let me go to therapy and figure out all my old stuff. It was all of these things together to
Mm.
really change the relationship that I have with my body. And often when I'm like on a plane or something and someone says, what do you do? If I said I'm a body peace coach, they'd be like, what? Right? So I say I'm a therapist. I'm a couples therapist, except instead of working with a woman and her partner, I work with a woman and her body, because that's the relationship that we want to heal. Because when we heal that relationship, we relax inside ourselves and everything changes.
Yeah, well, it's interesting you say that because it does sometimes feel like there are two of you, going at this thing opposed to one another. And if only we could get that into harmony, a more harmonious kind of a situation. What sort of steps do we take on this journey? Where would we begin if we were feeling, like this was something that resonated with us,
Yeah.
and we had felt like this was, like you say, an argument that we were kind of fed up of having with ourselves. Then where do we begin?
Yeah. The first thing always is looking at the relationship, right? Instead of what's my problem? I am at fault. I don't have enough willpower. If I just tried harder, if I just stuck to it more, right? Is to actually kind of put it sort of in front of you and go, oh, this is a relationship that's not working so well, right? So if we think about how do we make relationships work,
Mm-hmm.
right? The first thing we do in a relationship is kind of go, hello, like we extend our courtesy, our invitation into conversation. right? And one
Yeah.
of the ways I often invite people to do that is literally, and if you're listening, or Philippa, if you want to do it, is put your hand on your heart and really feel your hand and like, hello, body.
Hello, body. Would you encourage people to verbalize this out loud, or?
I do actually. For some people, it depends kind of on their learning style. Everybody learns a little differently. So some people, it really helps to close their eyes and really sink in and feel that. For some people, it's just hello body, like, because they're not as in their body yet. It sort of
Yeah.
depends where someone is in terms of embodiment. If there's no like, what body? I live up here, I think up here, I judge up here. I just have to deal with what I call living next door to my body. Oh, she should do something. She should eat better. She should go to the gym. She should move more, right? If we're in that relationship with our body, that disconnected relationship, then it's literally say it out loud, because it brings, oh, I have a body. What's happening here? We want to actually create a true conversation with our wise body, because there is wisdom, right? What's happened in our culture is we've been trained out of that wisdom. As women, we're like, often when even friends, and clients, how are you? They can tell me how their kids are, how their partner is, how their dog is, how their cat is. How are you? I don't know, because we are trained into being empathetic and connected to the other. Part of this work is, oh, what about me? Where am I in this? How do I reconnect to my sense of self? How do I start to have a conversation and start to trust my own body wisdom? And not only are we trained into the other, we're also given 1 million books written by some guy who made $1 million on them. Say, here, do this. It worked for me. You should do it too. And we're like, oh, okay, it worked for him. And you know what? He's on the top 10 books. So I'll do what he said. But that's not your body. That's his body. Right? We are literally trained out of our own body wisdom. So this is a journey back to reclaiming our own body wisdom, our own sense of this is home, right? This is, I'm living in my skin. I'm not living in some dude's skin who wrote a book.
Yeah. So, you know what? I'm just kind of feeling like sometimes we've kind of got trust issues, that we become distrustful. That body of mine doesn't know how to deal with this,
Yes.
or I can't trust myself, my body. The maybe the urges that you feel, or whatever. Can you speak to that?
Philippa, I love how you say, I think we have trust issues. We do. We absolutely have body trust issues, right? Am I really hungry? Should I be eating? Am I full? I can't tell if I'm full. Maybe I shouldn't eat this because I'm supposed to take half of my meal and put it aside, but I'm still hungry. Am I hungry? Was that okay? Right? So there's all this second guessing that keeps us out of trusting what our body says, right? And this is more in your wheelhouse, but I was working with a client and she said, I hate movement. And I was like, really, what do you do? And she was like, I'm doing this and this and this and this. And she was like, I just hate it. And I was like, okay, so what do you love? She's like, I like bicycling. And I was like, so how about bicycling? She was like, really? Just do what I like to do? And I was like, yeah, how about start there and see how it goes? She was like, oh my gosh, right? Just the invitation to trust your body instead of doing the exact regime that was set out again by clearly I'm like have a bone to pick with the patriarchy, but by set up like some guy who said, here, these are the amount of weights you need to do. Right? And she's like, I hate it and I don't do it because she's honoring where's the joy? Where's the delight? Where's the pleasure in being in my own body? And that's what lets us have trust. That sense of like, I'm listening to you. I'm honoring you. You want to get outside and just bike, and that's your idea of great movement. Fantastic. Let's do that.
Yeah.
And the body's like, oh, you're listening to me. Oh, we're going to go have fun. Oh, you mean taking care of myself isn't a chore and another thing to tick off of the list?
Yeah.
Oh, now we've got a fun partnership. And in the honoring, in the respecting, in the deep compassion of like, yeah, you've been bossed around for your whole life, comes the trust.
Mm.
And in that trust comes the listening. And that's where the magic, right? We really want to have that sacred conversation with our body only we can have. Right? When people start doing body peace work, they're like, okay, Nina, what's the approach? I'm like, the approach is your approach. Let's find your approach. Let's find what works for your body. I do not want to be another guru saying, and this is the way it's done. We as women have been told our whole lives how it's done. I'm done with that. Right? It's time for us to listen in.
Yeah, there's no doubt there's power in that. Absolutely. And, for my clients, I definitely advocate trying to get in touch with the things that you enjoy. Movement. There's no one size fits all with any of this stuff, as you say. I teach the movement approaches that I love because I love them. But if it
Yes.
isn't what you love, then I'm not going to force you to do it. I'm going to say there's some benefits. And for some people, it is a question of giving the body opportunities to experience things that maybe they thought they wouldn't enjoy, but then they find that they do. So, we kind of
Yes.
have to have that opportunity, don't we, to experiment and explore, fail, maybe get it wrong, and then pick your way through it. Is this kind of the way that you're looking at things as well?
Well, what I love also in what you're saying is this idea of experimentation. How does this fit for me? Does this match me? And also in that, let me try something new. Often we have to move past some obstacles of,
Mm,
I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I want to do that. I'm totally saying this from my own story,
sure.
which is that, as a kid in gym class, we had those scratchy ropes and trying to get up those horrible scratchy ropes.
I don't know anybody. Well, maybe the odd person could get up those ropes, but it definitely was rarely a young woman, was it? Rarely.
It really what it was, right? The guys with the upper arm, like, and I'm looking like, what's the matter with me? So when it came to actually, I started to rock climb, I was like, oh, no, 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 no. I
Oh.
can't do that
Mm,
because I have exercise trauma. Right?
mm,
I have
mm,
places where there was so much shame. I can't be
yeah.
hanging off of a mountain with ropes and it was like, no, no, let's try this. Let's try this on. See if it fits.
Yes, yeah.
There is this place in getting to know ourselves,
Mm,
reconnecting to relationship where we have to be like, so do you like it? Right? Often when
mm,
people have been on so many diets, right? And
mm,
then they're like, okay, I'm really trying to nourish myself. I kind of know that a vegetable or two might be a nice thing. I've lived in this body for 40 years. I kind of know that vegetables are nutrient dense, might be a good thing to add in, right? And then they're like, but all this stuff comes up. I'm not having another freaking salad. I won't do it because I've had 500 years of dieting. Then we
yeah.
have to be like, okay, well, how do we support our body? How do we give ourselves nutrients that we know really help our body in a way that is pleasurable, that is delightful, right?
Mm.
We don't want to be in the position of managing or pushing, because all that does is kick up our own sense of self agency or our inner rebel that goes, I'm not doing it. There's no way. I just won't. Right. And then we wonder, like, so how did I end up eating the whole package of that? Right. That was that inner rebel going, don't tell me what to do. So it's a conversation that we're always after, right? Some of my clients at a certain point often say, I feel like I'm talking to myself. I'm like, great.
Oh.
We want you to be actually talking to yourself. What do I need? What would support me?
Yeah, absolutely. Food is such an emotive issue, isn't it? Or an emotive conversation. And, sometimes I find myself having difficulty picking my way through the language, perhaps,
Hmm.
that is supportive, because it's really important that we're navigating a path towards health and wellness in the broadest sense of the word. But food is part of that, isn't it? It is interesting what you said about eating the whole packet. Been
Hmm.
there, done
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Hated oneself for doing it.
Yeah.
It's such a difficult conversation to unpick. And
Yeah.
the fact that you have that therapy expertise, I'm sure,
Yeah.
stands you in very good stead with your clients,
Yeah.
because there's so much stuff around that, isn't there? And this whole spiral of emotion that is around that. How do you
Yeah.
help people with that? I mean,
Yeah. So what you're talking here is food shame, right? When we end up eating something that makes us feel like we did it wrong, we did it bad, and there's shame there, right? And
yeah.
food shame comes on the heels of a bunch of different things. It can come on the heels of, I have a craving, I really want something sweet, and I end up eating something sweet, and I'm like, oh, that was a big, and I'm putting this in quotes, that was a big no-no, right? Food shame, right? Hits us like like a ton of bricks, right? Or, I ate what I thought was an appropriate nutrient dense amount of food, but I'm still hungry. Or I want a little something extra, right? I want a little sweet. I'm a huge, like, I just need a little something sweet at the end of a meal. I love that punctuation,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
And then people are like, oh my gosh. And then I had that, and then I had more, and then I couldn't stop. And then the food shame truck just like backs up and dumps us. So the first thing is to notice, oh, I'm in food shame,
Uh,
right? We have to name it.
uh-huh.
Shame has to be named, because what happens is the food shame truck backs up, dumps everything on us, and we go, oh, I'm bad. It's true. I'm bad. I'm a terrible person.
Mhm.
We don't even recognize it as shame. Toxic, painful truckload of shame. Right? We believe, no, this is true. I am terrible. I've lost all willpower. And tomorrow I will start again.
Mm. Yeah.
And I'll start again. And then I'll try to do my best. And then maybe I'll end up secret eating or binge eating or whatever my unwanted eating behavior pattern is. And it'll come up again. And then I'll just feel like I'm in the endless loop of not enoughness. Right? So,
Mm.
first, oh, there's the shame truck. I see it backing up. In fact, it's almost slimed all of me. No, this is shame. Why am I ashamed? And I want to tell you a story. So I have dieted for like a gazillion million years. And I started trying to heal this relationship in OA when I was 19 years old or 18 years old. I was just in university. And I had a sponsor. And just by the by, I'm not a proponent of OA. I think it's restrictive and actually leads to more disordered eating. But this is part of my journey. So I was in OA and I was living in New York City and I had gone to Waverly Square coffee shop. And they had these muffins that like are the size of your head. They cut them in half, they put butter and they put them on the grill. So I called my sponsor up and I'm like, I ate a muffin. And she's like, okay. And I was like, no, no, no. It was a Waverly Square muffin. She's like, okay. I was like, no, you don't understand. Do you know how they grill them and they put butter? And I ate the whole thing. And she was like, uh-huh. I was like, I was bad. Don't you get it? And she was like, Nina, what is in a muffin? I was like, what do you mean? She was like, literally, what are the ingredients? I was like, I don't know. It was cornmeal. It was flour. It was some sugar. It was some butter. It was some eggs. And she was like, uh-huh. And do those foods make you a bad human being? And it was like mind blown in that moment. And it changed the whole trajectory of my experience with food, because I realized I had given that muffin the power to make me a bad person. So it's so what she had done, right? With going like, yeah, so I'm like, don't you understand? I'm terrible, right? She was like, no, you're absolutely not. That's just food shame, right? She didn't have the words. She was also a young woman. She didn't have the words then, but she was able to say those ingredients do not have a moral value that get to determine who you are as a human being, right? So when that happens, when there's much more to unpack in unwanted eating behavior, but when that happens, the first go-to is, wow, that's food shame. I just was slimed. And you know what? I ate something. End of story. Maybe I ate something that didn't feel so great in my body. Maybe I made a choice that wasn't like the best choice in the world. Maybe I ate more than I'm comfortable in my body with. But congratulations to me. Woohoo. I ate something. Doesn't mean I'm bad. And it's important. And this is a Brene Brown concept. Shame cannot live in the light of day. We have to bring it out and speak it, because when we don't say it and we don't speak it even to ourselves or journal about it or say it to a friend, it festers. See, I'm terrible. And then it impacts the rest of our day. We go around kind of hiding, feeling bad, not feeling ourselves. We deserve better. We absolutely deserve better. And a muffin, a packet of whatever does not have the power to make you a bad person. You're a good person.
Yeah, I mean, this is it, isn't it? Getting to the root of the challenges is really something that I hope that we can help people to do, and to see it for what it is. Say, acknowledge, verbalize, and have those tools, and then know that you're not a bad person for whatever it was that went on. And that, I liked what you said around sensing what movement is suited to you, and similarly you mentioned then the idea that we ate something and maybe it didn't sit well with us physically. And so again, that piece around getting right in touch with everything, that's the thoughts that we think, the nourishment, the movement, to really be connected, I suppose.
Yes, absolutely. Connected to our body and what she needs. By the time we're 40, we've lived a year or two in this body. We know like what doesn't make us feel good. And sometimes we'll still choose it, right? Sometimes I'll still eat something and I'll be like, oh yeah, like broccoli and we are not great friends. I love broccoli. You cannot give me something I love more than like broccoli with garlic sauce, Chinese style. Like broccoli and we do not get along. It never makes me feel good. And so sometimes I'm like, oh, Chinese restaurant, and there's the broccoli and the garlic. I think I'll just have a little bit. And then I'm like, oh my God, this is so good. And afterwards, my body's like, are you kidding me? How many times do we need to get that this relationship, this is not a food that you love, that loves you back, right? That's my ultimate phrase that I use. Is this a food that I love, that loves me back? I don't want to eat food I don't love, but I also don't want to eat food that doesn't love me back, right? So whether it's broccoli, whether it's, I don't know, for some people, dairy sensitivity, whatever the sensitivity, we want to be connected. One of the things I mentioned, Philippa, in the beginning is I write body peace poems. I write poems about our relationship with our food and body. And there's a poem that I think would be just fit into this conversation if you're willing.
Yes, let's hear it. Let's hear it, Nina.
Okay. It's called Just Tell Me What to Eat. because often we're so frustrated, right? We've had so much like, don't eat this, eat this. Oh, I'm so confused. Does this hurt my stomach? Am I allergic to it? Am I sensitive to it? Maybe I shouldn't do gluten. Maybe I should do gluten. It's so confusing in our culture. So I often hear when women come to me, it's like, just tell me what to eat. I'm just so exhausted, right? So this poem is called Just Tell Me What to Eat. She said, just tell me what to eat. Give me the formula, the magic balance of grams, calories, macros, superfoods. Tell me how to feed myself because I'm exhausted and I'm confused. For decades, she's been told she doesn't know. She's been trained that she can't trust herself. It makes sense. We've been conditioned to stop listening, to ignore, to abdicate our bodies. We've stopped talking to our billions of wise cells. Right now, it's time to start the conversation.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. Well, Nina, we could talk and talk and talk on this topic. Tell us a little bit about where we can find you.
Mm-hmm. So there's two places that I recommend connecting with me. If you're a social media person, just search for me, Nina Manolson, on any platform. You'll find me. But there's two places if you're ready to really get rolling in this work. One is I have a Body Peace app. If you go to your App Store or Google Play and you put in Body Peace with a dash in between, you'll find me. And on there is a free masterclass that really dives into these different relationships, right? We talked about body hate and body shame, but there are other relationships that women have with their bodies. So it really gets into that. It's free. And the other, if you're more of an internet person, go to my website, ninamanolson.com, and there you'll find a journal. It's a free journal, Practicing Body Peace. It has some of my poems, and it has 20 questions that really start to inquire, how is this relationship with your body? How is this relationship with food? How are you feeling, right? Starting sort of that couples counseling. So that's where I recommend for next steps.
Fantastic. And I will include links in the show notes so that people have that written down, because if they're anything like me, they'll be forgetting right now what you just said.
Me too. Me too.
Let's love ourselves just a little bit more, care for ourselves. And, if we think this is a piece of work that might be on the list of things for us to explore and experiment with, now we know a wonderful lady who is there at our disposal, somebody to look to help. Thank you again so much. It's wonderful to meet you, and I look forward to chatting with you again in the future. Do take care for now, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye for now, everybody.
Thank you.